Very warm good evening to all and Happy New Year. Today we will be discussing three important sections from the Indian Evidence Act. Now we all know that whenever our client goes to the police station, the police records his statement in the criminal proceeding whenever there is an FIR is lodged. Now we always feel that whenever a statement is given to police, it will be used against our client. So we tell client not to speak this, not to mention this. But then actually that is not the way we can instruct the client to that why what he should speak and all that. So always remember there is a reason behind it. There are section Indian evidence which says the confession before the police cannot be proved unless at the most you can that can be used for contradicting him or for omissions he has made in that statement. That is from section 161 to 164 CRPC. If you read it, you will get all the answers. Now here we will be reading section 25, 26 and 27 of Indian Evidence Act. Now let's have a look at these three sections. Section 25, confession to, let me elaborate this listen. Confession to police officer not to be proved. No confession made to a police officer shall be proved as against a person accused of any offense. See, section 25 is very clear that any confession made to the police officer cannot be proved of any offense. So it is very clear. So sometimes the client comes and say, I have told this before the police. So you should not be afraid that why he has made such a statement. As a lawyer, we should be aware the confession to the police officer not to be proved. The wording is very clear. I am repeating it. No confession made to a police officer shall be proved as against the person accused of any offense. Now, we should know the police may say he has given the confession, but under section 25, it cannot be proved. Next is section 26. Confession by accused while in custody of police not to be proved against him. No confession made by any person while he is in custody of the police officer. Sometimes the court grants the police custody and police tries to take out the information. At the most, they can reduce it in the writing. See the wording I'm using it. They can reduce it in the writing, make a part of the same statement as a part of the charge sheet. Now here, no confession made by any person while he is in custody of the police officer unless it be made in the immediate presence of a magistrate. See, two officers are mentioned here. One is police officer, another is magistrate, that is judicial officer, shall be proved as against such person. If such confession is made in front of the magistrate, then it can be proved. But if it is made in the police custody, it cannot be proved. We should remember the word used is magistrate, in the presence of magistrate. You will see that whenever a big crime is committed, use crimes like rape charges, murder charges, and the accused wants to make some confession, the police takes him to nearest magistrate. Whether he has jurisdiction or not, he can take the magistrate has a power to record the confession. So 26 is very important. Shall be proved as against such person. Explanation. In this section, magistrate does not include the head of the village discharging magistral functions in the presence of Fort St. George और elsewhere. Now, this ये अंग्रेजों के जमाने की बात है. तभी वो अलग से मैजिस्ट्रेट जो एग्जीक्यूटिव फंक्शंस करते थे. Now it is not also before सरपंच भी नहीं हो सकता है. Or elsewhere, unless such headman is a magistrate, exercising the powers of a magistrate under the code of criminal procedure. So if he is a magistrate, he should be under the code of the criminal procedure appointed. उसका appointment CRPC के अनुसार होना चाहिए. It's not that anybody, any magistrate, because we also find different kind of magistrate which cannot be, who cannot record the confession. It has to be under the CRPC. Now, next is very important. The first 25th we saw that any confession made before police officer of any crime against a person accused of any offense cannot be proved. Now, next is 26. The confession while he is in police custody, the police officer records the confession, it cannot be proved unless it made in the immediate presence of magistrate. Now, next we go to 27. How much of the information received from accused may be proved? Now, this section is different from the above two sections. This section says, provided that when any fact is deposed as discovered in consequence of information received from a person accused of any offense, in the custody of a police officer, so much of such information, whether it amounts to a confession or not, as relates distinctly to the fact thereby discovered may be proved. Now let's give this one example. Now an accused is before the police. He is in a police custody. He says, I have murdered a person with this knife. Now when I don't have a knife, so I'm showing the pain with this knife. Now the police ask him, where is that knife now? Now he will say this knife is I have thrown in a open place somewhere or behind the tree, or I have hidden it somewhere under the earth. Now if he says that it is hidden there, the police may take to pancha, that is panchanama, and record the panchanama with the help of two witnesses. And what is accused saying that I have murdered this person with this weapon, and this weapon is hidden here. Now this is section 27. It may be bat, it may be anything, any weapon. It may be hockey bat, hockey stick, or cricket bat, or anything like that. Or it may be also somewhere when there is a jewelry. It may be anything. So always remember, 27 Panchanama is totally different. The wording is how much of the information received from accused may be proved. Provided that, let's read it again, that when any fact is deposed as discovered in consequence of the information received from a person accused of any offense in the custody of a police officer, so much of such information, whether it amounts to a confession as relates to the fact thereby discovered
नाही खारट पण भरपूर आहे. सकाळी मी सांगायला विसरलो तुम्हाला.
Now, see 25th, 26th, 27. So 27 is the most important, wherein if there is any fact is new fact is discovered or something is, it's not confession related. He says, I have committed this offense with this weapon, or I have hidden this jewelry somewhere else. This is in a code language 27 ka panchanama, 27 ka panchanama, 27 ka panchanama. So 27 is very, very important because it is in consequence of the information received from a person accused of any offense. He has committed an offense and he is trying to say that this is what has happened. Okay. So this was 25, 26, 27. It looks very small sections, but this plays a very important role in criminal trial. So try to read judgments which are on the 27. Whenever you are running a trial which is of rape charges, or maybe any debt, or maybe any jewelry recovered, you will find the panchanama. Now this panchanama has to be read in the light of section 27. So this is very important. So try to read few judgments on the section 27. So this is about Indian Evidence Act. Indian Evidence Act is very exhaustive, though it has it is an old act. Till date, it has not become an outdated, and not many amendments are there, but it is actually very helpful. So whenever you are running a civil trial or criminal trial, you need to go through the Indian Evidence Act. Those who are new to the field, I would request read the Indian Evidence Act once at least. So it will actually give you a lot of insight how to run the trial. And if possible, go to any nearby court and request the library man or take a permission from any advocate, and try to read the Indian Evidence Act with the commentary book. It should have commentary, so it will be easy to understand. Now I try to give a few examples, but it is not possible to cover all the sections here. So whenever you go to the library, try to read. Even your college library may be having Indian Evidence Act with all the commentary. Commentary means there are some examples, old judgments are discussed, and maybe it is explained with lot of good examples. So this will help. Now we go to Jeet Singh Rathod for reading today's judgment. He's going to read an interesting piece today. Just a minute. Jeet, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. I want to.
Patna High Court, National Insurance Company Limited versus Narendra Kumar Jhanjari. Now this is from the Patna High Court 1989. Justice S. Abidi has given this judgment. You can read from the para 1.
Okay. The National Insurance Company Limited and its chairman cum managing director, manager, assistant general manager, manager, complaints cell, senior divisional manager, branch manager, and assistant administrative officer have filed this application under section 482 CRPC for quashing the impugned order dated 13 January 84, taking cognizance of the offences under section 406, 420 and 120B of the Indian Penal Code on the basis of a complaint number 172 of 1983 filed by Narendra Kumar Jhanjari, complainant opposite party. The complainant opposite party has said in the said complaint that he is the proprietor of Mr. Premier Glass Industries, Jhumurtalia Insured the Industries, that on 5/10/81, the Industries was insured on payment of rupees 6,900 for 1 year under comprehensive policy number 456/P/3101278/81 and 7501188 by the National Insurance Company Limited against all kinds of natural calamities, theft and burglary, and the policy was issued for 10 lakhs and the proprietor was induced by the accused number 7, petitioner number 8, namely K.K. Chaudhary, Assistant Administrative Officer, who was the then branch manager of the National Insurance Company at Jhumartalia. This K.K. Chaudhary, the then branch manager of the National Insurance Company, by giving false assurance, asked the proprietor of the industries to pay rupees 6,900 for such policy as a premium for a period of 1 year, on which the proprietor of the industries got his industries insured with the said insurance company and delivered a check number 357751 dated 5/10/81 drawn on the State Bank of India, Jhumartalia branch for rupees 6,900. During the relevant period, the industries was under mortgage with the State Bank of India, Jhumartalia, on account of loan advanced to its proprietor for the development of the industries. On payment of rupees 6,900 as per annum premium at the time of getting the industries insured, the insurance company granted a receipt number 1336052 dated 10/10/81 on 25/3/82. The insured premises were badly damaged, resulting in almost closure of the entire industry because of lightning squall, followed by cyclonic storm, which was natural calamity beyond the human control. This matter was immediately reported to the police, who made proper investigation into the matter. The incident was immediately reported to the insurance authorities concerned and claim was made for rupees 6,64,548, that is actual loss after deduction of salvage value. The loss sustained by the said industries, on which the insurance company appointed a surveyor who surveyed and verified the loss and damages sustained due to the above mentioned calamities. Because the proprietor was facing financial crisis, therefore, he invited partners for the said industries, and on his request, Narendra Kumar Jhanjari, complainant opposite party, and Manmal Jhanjari became the partners to run the firm, and this fact was brought to the knowledge of the authorities, including Mr. A.K. Gupta, investigator, Calcutta. Several reminders were issued to the authorities, that is, the accused persons, to settle the claim, and also oral requests were made to all the accused persons to make good the loss as promised and assured by them, which is covered under the policy referred to above. The accused persons who have dishonest intention to cheat the proprietor and his partners did not pay any heed to the request and reminders sent to them. Ultimately, the complainant, being a managing partner of the said industries, instructed his lawyer to give a pleader's notice to the accused persons. When the notices were served upon the accused person, the divisional manager Patna sent a reply to the complainant by his letter dated 12/10/83 and refused to pay the claimed amount of the complainant. On receipt of this letter, the complainant opposite party, along with the witness number 2, went to the superior authority to know the actual position and circumstances under which the reply was given to him. But he was told that the matter was under consideration and it would be settled by the third week of December 1983 positively. And so the complainant was misled by the representation that the matter would be finalized as assured by the accused persons. The complainant's brother, witness number 4, went to Calcutta to request the accused, number 3, to expedite the matter, but the authorities at Calcutta told his brother that the had authorized the divisional manager Patna to settle the claim and to pay the amount. Then the complainant waited till the 29th December 1983, but the accused did not settle the claim nor paid any amount. The partner of the complainant, with utmost good faith, entrusted rupees 6,900 to the accused person, and the accused person dishonestly misappropriated the said amount to their own use, and they did not discharge the legal contract which they have made in form of the policy, and thereby they committed offence punishable under section 406 IPC. Further, the accused persons have conspired together by their conduct and liabilities, and they agreed to commit an illegal act by not paying the sum claimed for the loss sustained, and thereby they were liable to be punished under section 120B IPC. Third, the learned judicial magistrate examined the complainant on solemn affirmation and his 3 witnesses, namely Satyanarayan Prasad, Vinod Kumar Saraf, and Suresh Jhanjari. The learned magistrate pursued the copy of the complaint statements of 3 witnesses, and after seeing the photostat copies of the receipts, notices, acknowledgements, and records, found a prima facie case under section 406, 420, and 120B IPC against the accused persons and issued the notice to them and fixed 3/2/84 for their appearance in the court. The petitioners filed this application on 9/3/84 and got an interim order dated 12/3/84. Learned counsel for the petitioners urged that it is a case of civil liability and a civil suit is pending in respect of this matter between the parties, and so a criminal prosecution is not maintainable. Looking to the complaint itself, no case for prosecution is made out and the prosecution is bad in law. No sanction has been obtained for launching the prosecution, as the offences complained are in the discharge of the official duties. Learned counsel for the complainant opposite party, on the other hand, argued that even if a civil remedy is available, there is no bar to file a criminal prosecution if an offence is made out. Looking to the complaint itself, the offences complained are made out, and whatever matter is there, it is to be considered in support of the averments made in the complaint. These are the matters of evidence which cannot be decided at this stage. The learned magistrate at the time of taking cognizance is to consider only as to whether a prima facie case is made out after looking to the complaint, statement of the complaint, and 3 witnesses, and also the documents. No sanction is required for the prosecution of the accused that the offence has not committed by the accused in the discharge of their official duties. Lastly, it was argued on behalf of the complainant opposite party that if at all it appears to the learned magistrate after the appearance of the accused and showing cause that nothing is made out for proceeding, the court concerned will discharge the accused. But at this stage, when the evidence is to come to quash the complaint, saying that it is not maintainable is a denial of justice.
Wait. Jit Singh, just wait.
Yes,
Now,
okay.
now very well read. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, what we see, this was a complaint of an insurance company and between the another private party. It is under section 406, 420 and 120B. 406 is misappropriation of the funds, 420 is cheating, and 120B is the Shadyantra, conspiracy of the Indian Penal Code. Now, see, this matter went to the High Court, Patna High Court, and the counsel for defense is trying to say that in this matter, one he is talking about sanction, that sanction is try to understand what is sanction. When you are filing a case against some police officers or the government employees, you have to take the sanction. Now, this is altogether different way, but we will discuss in some other lecture. But what I am trying to today to make you understand that there are matters which has civil remedy as well as criminal liability. Now here there was civil remedy also available for recovery of the money. Another thing that the counsel was saying that reason why criminal prosecution was launched against his client, and if it at all launched, then there should be a sanction because they were acting in their proper government duty. Now, whenever these types of complaints come to you, there will be two aspects of every matter, which will have civil remedy as well as criminal remedy. Now, you have got a duty to explain if you are for the accused that it is a totally civil matter, but given the color of the criminal matter, an FIR is lost. There is a possibility check bouncing cases. It's a criminal offense, but there is a special statute for check bouncing. You will always find that under 138 the Negotiable Instrument Act. Normally, police do not register the complaint or FIR for the check bouncing case in our country. But what happens? Sometime it is registered and matter comes before the court under section 482 of CRPC. Now, what Jeet has read, see, if you read the third line, the National Insurance Company Limited is chairman cum managing director, manager, assistant general manager, manager complaint cell, senior division manager, branch manager, assistant administrative officer have filed this application under section 482 CRPC for quashing the impugned order for taking cognizance of the offense under section. So FIR has been, that cognizance has been taken. Therefore, the National Insurance Company's officers have gone to the Patna High Court for quashing this complaint. उस कंप्लेंट को रद्द करवाने के लिए गए हैं. So this 482 CRPC is very important. Secondly, what is their counsel is trying to impress upon the court is that it is a totally civil matter about recovery and there cannot be a police complaint about the same. So 482 CRPC is trying to get the matter quashed, saying that it's a civil matter and unnecessary. The police has given it a criminal color and it's a offense. This FIR has been lodged against them. So this is one kind of matter which we should be aware. Whenever you get a FIR, if it is a money matter, try to find out actually whether it's a business transaction also. So always remember this.